Hello everyone, good afternoon. Happy Friday to everyone. I'm absolutely delighted today. I was going to be doing the live weekly Q&A for service accommodation, holiday home owners, serviced apartments, Airbnb hosts, whatever industry you're in, we've got you covered. But I've got a super extra surprise for you today. I'm absolutely smiling from ear to ear because I've got one of our best, most amazing property managers at Pillow Partner, Becky, here. So I'm going to answer some of your questions, but I'm bringing in an expert here, bringing in an expert from the Pillow Partners team. Guys, if you're watching live on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube, somewhere else that the team put it, please ask your questions. We're going to be focusing on Devon as an area. So between Becky and I, we're going to be answering all the questions that come in. So absolutely delighted to be answering your questions and doing the ones that we've got throughout the social media channels this week. But it's not just me. You've got someone even smarter than me this week, Becky. So while we're waiting the questions coming in, guys, if you're watching live, you can ask a question. If you happen to be watching on the replay across any of the channels and you didn't get your question answered, then Becky's details will be there. We will answer them and come back to you. So, Becky, I've dragged you on. We were just doing some team training at Pillow, and I've dragged you on. Introduce yourself. Tell us what area you cover. And yeah, just let people know what you do.
So yeah, I'm Becky. We cover the South Devon area, though we do have a couple of properties in the North Devon area. So yeah.
Perfect. So you're in it. It's a family business. So you and Matt are in it together. And again, just Matt does this with you as well, doesn't he? He's always in the training.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, he's actually out doing it. He's on his way back from a clean in Barnstable at the moment. So I did just phone him before jumping on and going, can you join me?
Right, fantastic, guys. I have pulled Becky on here. Guys, active property managers. It's why we don't interview them as often as I would like, because if you're a host watching this, Becky and Matt, a husband and wife team, are out working on properties. Matt's out and about on the road and Becky's here doing the property management from home. So if Becky needs to jump off, anytime we're doing training or doing these type of things, they're active property managers and they're not going to sit and chat to me over servicing their hosts and their guests. And it's a Friday, Becky, so we've got guest check-ins today. So I'd be very surprised if Becky didn't need to go and look after our hosts. But this is what we're trying to build with Pillow, is that we have people local, near to your properties, not working in call centres, not overseas Filipino VAs. By the way, shout out to all the Filipino VAs. They're fantastic. But we want someone that's been to properties. So yourself and Matt, any properties you manage, for the fully managed ones, you've been out, you know all the little things about the properties. You're personally visiting these properties, is that right?
Yeah, we visit all of them about every 2 weeks, just so that we know what's going on, anything that needs sorting, fixing, repairing.
Fantastic. So guys, listen, property managers out and about inspecting your property, not always doing meet and greets, but looking at your property. I think it's fantastic, and that's why I'm delighted to have Becky on. Okay, so we're going to pull in some questions. South Devon, at the moment, what's the furthest you would cover for property management? Because South Devon, it's a big old place, as is Devon. But if there's any hosts watching, what areas would you like to have properties fall in? Where would you like to go to?
Anywhere throughout Torbay, as far as down as Dartmouth, Salcombe, yep. Or even going the other direction and going sort of Exmouth.
Yep.
And any of the coastline through the middle.
So coastline properties. I do a lot of networking, a lot of events, and people always say, Scott, where's the best place that I should get a holiday home or a service accommodation? Where's the best place? Where should I invest my money to get an Airbnb unit? And my answer is always, and if you ask my team, you will get 20, 25 different answers. I think we've got about 25 property managers. And the answer is different, because if you asked Emma in Glasgow, she would say, we'll go for the West End of Glasgow. Or if you asked Rory in Dundee or Lindsay down in Brighton, everybody would have their own answers, because there's a property manager in each area. So let's start discussing a little bit about Devon. What's some of the attractions for guests and hosts? Now, here's a question that's come in, the team have put up. Let me put on. What do you think makes Devon stand out as a holiday destination compared to other parts of the UK? Because when we first started Pillowing, we've been doing holiday home management as a company since 2006. But the classic holiday home areas were always Devon, Cornwall, and the Lake District and the Peak District in my eyes. Why is Devon so popular? Why that area of the country?
I think because you've got such a fantastic coastline, but you're also generally from anywhere within Devon, you're not that far from the moors or the countryside.
Yep.
So you've got a bit of for everybody. There's it fits every guest type or contractor type.
Yeah, lots of so if I think of Devon many years ago, classic holiday home area, always never struggled for bookings. This isn't a guess question. There's a little bit of a conflict with Devon in some areas and Cornwall for sure. Lots of people with second homes there. Again, I'm a big advocate of the holiday home industry. I think it supports people. It generates tourism money. It generates income. It supports towns and villages that would be dead otherwise. But what's the sentiment for people with second homes in Devon? Some people like it. Some people don't like it. Is it different per area, per city, per region?
I would have said so. I mean, some areas that I think the holiday homes areas are great. I think sometimes people get a bit annoyed by people that have a second home but possibly don't visit it other than for themselves. So they don't use it as a holiday cottage. They use it just for their own benefits. And I think those are the ones that probably people struggle a little bit with. But actually, holiday homes, I think people understand.
Yeah, and like I say, there's I've seen it not in Devon, places I've been actively involved in, and I always say to people that have any negative stuff to say, what if you got what you wanted? What if you got what you wanted and there was no holiday homes? Well, there'd be so much unemployment. There'd be nobody going to those areas. The thing about second homes and holiday homes are they're not affordable housing. So the majority of your properties, we'll talk about the properties that you think would work very well in your area, but they're not going to be first-time buyer properties. They're not going to be social housing properties. They're probably kind of high-end cottage types. So if people got what they wanted, Becky, and it was taken away, and all the holiday homes were given over to the buyer's market, it wouldn't solve any social housing problems. It would just make people unemployed, really. That's my thoughts.
Yeah, I'd agree with you. I mean, tourism brings a lot to the area.
And Devon's a big place, so I'm generalising and categorising the whole place, but there'll be different towns and villages and cities, and it is massively different. So let's talk about why people come. Now, a question here from YouTube. Seasonal highlights for visitors like festivals, events, or nature-based activities. I don't know what they're thinking about there, but every area, I always joke and say there's in Lancashire, in the north of, in the Derbyshire Dales, there's always these weird things that people come far and wide for, like cheese rolling down hills and stuff like that. And there's always these mad Yorkshire villages with crazy traditions. Talk about the different things that happen in Devon while people come. Traditional stuff local to your region.
I suppose for us, we've got national sporting. We've got Exeter Chiefs, which a lot of people will come to Devon for. We've also got Plymouth Argyle and the football, which is always around and about. What other things? Ottery for their tar barrel for bonfire is another good one. Torbay Air Show happens in the summer. What else?
Surfing, right? Is where is it? Was it Newquay? Surfing a big thing down there as well?
Massively. I'd also say the North Devon coast, sort of Croyd, Willicombe, Braunton. Yeah, we have had guests ask where to go for the best surf. So yeah, we always send them sort of that way.
Nice. Right, I'm going to take that question off and we're going to bring it personally back to you. We're talking about surfing and sports, but one of the things I love doing at Pillow is people getting to know our property managers. And I kind of hate the term agent and managing agent and landlord because it's very transactional, but essentially we're business partners. The business is Pillow Partners, and I see every person that gives us a property as a business partner. It's a joint venture and it's 50-50. If you bring Becky, all you need to do is give Becky and Matt your property and they do absolutely everything else. But with every business partnership, we want to get to know those people a little bit better. Let's chat about your running. What was a big, amazing thing you did this year? Because it was, I still couldn't believe the miles or kilometres involved. Tell us what you've done for your running.
So I ran from Ilfracombe back to Plymouth, which is actually 92 miles. It was over 2 days. So we did 58 miles on the first day, and then we did 34 miles on the second day, all in aid of Young Devon, which is a charity that support young individuals that are within need of all sorts of different services.
Perfect. And guys, we're talking miles here, Becky, aren't we? We're not talking kilometres, we're talking miles there longer.
No, it was miles.
Yeah. And how was that? How were you at the end of that? Because I saw all your training for it.
Yeah, it took a lot out of me. It took me 3.5 days to get shoes back on again due to swelling in my legs and my ankles. I actually had said to Matt during the event, I would have actually rather gone through childbirth than continue. But I do it to see how far I can push myself and how much I can raise for charity.
Yeah, cool. Right. So I had sore legs listening to you finishing that, and never mind doing it. But let's quickly talk about the charity, because you did that, obviously a little bit of self-achievement, but the big driving force behind that was to actually do some good, some social impact and raise money and awareness. So let's continue that legacy on from the running and raise a little bit of awareness of that charity you were running for. Tell us about that.
What about Young Devon?
Yeah. I think it's
so. I think they've been going for 75 years, but I don't think enough people know about them. I certainly hadn't heard about them until I went to a networking comedy night, and the CEO was there talking about the event and said about it, and then just put a leaflet on every table. And I said to Matt at the end of the night, I was like, that sounds like an interesting challenge. So just wanted to get involved, wanted to give back to the community. I do an awful lot of charity events for different charities, from riding 205 miles to Ultramans and Ironmans across Snowdonia, and just all sorts of different things. I'm always happy to help a charity in that needs a bit of extra help.
Guys, what I would say to you, if you're watching this and you're looking at picking a property manager, if Becky can deal with these epic gargantuan feats of physical endurance, she's going to be servicing your guests very, very well. She's resilient enough to deal with guests and run your property management business. So absolutely, I think mental resilience and physical resilience and sporting achievements like that, and I have not done anything to that degree, but I think that ties very, very well into business resilience and shows amazing character. So fantastic. We'll maybe come back to the charity at the end and see if we can get the audience having a little bit of interaction and doing some actual donations for this. So let's have a little look. Where were we? There is Matt in. Hi, Matt. So now Matt is branded with the Pillow Partners branding, so we like that. Get the logo on.
Other side.
So we were just saying, I want to put a face to our team. We've heard a little bit about Becky. Matt, you've been out doing some stuff today, and you're the second half of Pillow Partners Devon. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi guys, I'm Matt. And I'm the second half of Pillow Partners Devon, like Scott said.
There we go. That's good enough. Right, so let's bring it back to your area. As we'd said before, people always say, Scott, what's the best area to invest in property or get a second home? What's got good returns on an ROI? And I always say, well, it depends on who you speak to in my team, because each one of my team will be passionate about their area. So we've talked about some festivals in your area. The makeup for Devon. So traditionally, Devon, I would think, is a classic holiday home area. So we've got independent cottages that are just in the country. Think beautiful cottages in the country and the coast, and hot tubs and that type of thing. But we've got what's near Plymouth and all the associated stuff with the naval bases there. Is there a strong contractor market in Devon as well?
Yeah, I would say so. We've got contractors in several of our properties. Also, university students that are out on placements. So not only are they at university, but they also go out on sort of 40-night placements as well. So
nice.
Yeah.
So I think any good, the perfect thing for any short-term rental unit. And again, for Devon, we tend to go towards a kind of classic holiday home, but Devon's such a big area. There's contractors, there's high-end executive lets and corporate lets as well, and the classic holiday homes. So if you had to manifest or put a shout out to anyone watching this for your perfect property, what's the perfect property for you guys? How many bedrooms would it have? How would it be set up? What types of guests would it service? And where would it be, even a rough location?
I was going to say, I would have quite a coastal one because I love the coast.
Yep.
So anything sort of overlooking the sea or in a seaside-y kind of town and things like that. And so because we have such a wide spread of obviously the leisure sort of side with holiday sort of side and everything like that. Obviously that can be couples, that can be families, and things. So regarding bedrooms, it really would vary. Obviously on the towns and things like that we sort of want to go into and things. But yeah, I love coastal, but then I also love the moors as well, and having a wander over the moors, just fresh air and just greenery for miles and miles, and obviously a bit of granite as well that's up there. So but yeah, I don't know about what would you say on that one?
Yeah, I would say possibly all size properties, because there's such a variety of guests that come and stay that actually no one property would fit the types of guests that we would need. So it could be your 1-bedroom flat or studio. It could be a 5-bedroomed house with a hot tub and that in the country, but it all depends on the guests that are coming or the contractors that are coming.
Yeah, I love what you've said there, guys, because sometimes when you're dealing with other, I was going to say multinational, big management companies, there's a certain criteria, and you mentioned one bedroom properties. Some companies are not going to touch 1 bedrooms because they want all these big fanciest properties, and a lot of people actually struggle and get turned back for. And I think 1-bed properties, listen, not everybody can afford £2,000 a week staycations, so I think 1 beds definitely have the place in the market. So guys, don't worry about if you're been to some big management companies and have said no because you're not fancy enough. I think we're all realistic here, guys. Becky and Matt, it's more about the host than the property. People say is there a minimum type of property, but for us, we want to work with good hosts that kind of align with our values, and view it as hospitality and not property. So you'd agree, guys, it's probably more about the business partnership, the connection, and their attitude towards looking after their guests rather than the property.
Yeah, as I say, 100%. Like to have like a good host makes happy guests.
And I'll tell we've had some cracking properties over the last 2 decades, but the wrong type of hosts. They've came to us literally castles with 18 bedrooms, but they didn't have the right attitude. I genuinely think 95% of landlords shouldn't be holiday home hosts. They shouldn't be Airbnb hosts, shouldn't be service accommodation operators. They're looking at it property and maximising profit as opposed to delivering a good customer experience. Now, guys, let's talk about the services that you provide, because there will be people there with second homes that they perhaps use periodically. And I think up to now, definitely up to the last year, many people we've spoken to in areas like you're saying, well, I've got a second home. I don't really want people in it. I don't need the money. And let's say that the wife doesn't want other people in it because they might do damage, and it's our home. We just use it and we don't need the money. But I'm seeing a lot more people with second homes, especially from London and the home counties, saying, actually, for the first time ever, I would rent this out. And actually, there's a couple of reasons I say that's a good idea. One, it pays for that holiday home in its entirety. And if they don't need that money because they're super rich coming from London, they can actually use that to fund charitable activities or even overseas holidays. So guys, if a host was coming to you and saying, well, I've always been reluctant to do this, or I've had some bad experiences because it's our family home, we use it 5 times a year, we're happy for it to sit empty. What would you say to them to reassure them that you guys are going to look after it and the realities of renting a property to other people?
And obviously we provide spot checks and things like that on them. We make sure that we go to a property at least every 2 months. I know that some, it's a good thing being a local property manager, because obviously there's other companies that will be in London where those owners are, but with the properties down sort of our way in Devon, and they won't get the sort of like the looking after, the eyes over and everything. Obviously we have good relationships with housekeepers and everything as well, which are obviously in the properties even more than what we are, and obviously they can advise on things and things like that, really.
One question for you guys. If you were taking on a property and someone wanted to say that I would like to use it myself, would you stop them using it themselves for private use, or would you let them use it when they wanted?
No, we'd definitely let them use it as they wanted to. Yeah, at the end of the day, it is their home. As much as it's a business, it's still their house and things. So yeah, and we've just sort of talk through with them, let them know if it's a busy period and things like that. But at the end of the day, if they would like to use it, then they're more than welcome to.
Now, that might seem like a strange question to the audience and you guys, but what I will the reason I asked that is there will be people watching this that said, really? My management company don't allow me to use my own property, or they charge them an extra percentage. You guys might know the extra percentage. We won't name names, but for other management companies, they charge their hosts 4%, or they're charging them money to stay in their own property. Again, it's not, we've never done that, and it's insane that owners would agree to that. But for many, many owners in the classic holiday home areas, they're contractually tied in that they can't use their own property. So that's why I asked you guys, I actually think it's great that when owners come to visit their own property, because if they never get to see it, they're not going to take your advice on the improvements. But your host coming to use their property is a positive thing, because they'll come and see it, and they'll probably come and bring some soft furnishings or agree to some painting or do something up because they've got some personal pride in it. So if MD's there with a second home, you guys would be delighted to look after it, make them money, and they can just block that out whenever they wanted, yeah?
Yeah, 100%.
And I'll ask you a technical question. It's different for each owner, but an owner can go into the calendar and see what bookings they've got and block it out for themselves if they wanted. Yeah.
We've got a system called HostAway, and they're able to sort of see all of that on there, which is absolutely great, really.
Cool. And again, I don't know how you will set this up for individual ones, but them being able to see what bookings they've got and future income is nice. They get full transparency for that, so they can phone up and get you to book it out themselves, but they can see the calendar. And guys, what I would say is, if what day is this? We called this on a Friday. Maybe if somebody didn't have someone in today and it was going to be free, you don't take same day bookings.
No, not at the moment.
So that eliminates last minute party bookings and stuff. So that's the smart thing. Some cities do, but we don't take last day bookings. So if someone wanted to move in today they can't book it, which means if you're a host and you're sitting at lunchtime and think, should we just jump down to the holiday home? They can contact you guys. It'll all be ready. It'll all be cleaned. And if it isn't occupied, then that's when we suggest that they use it when it's not booked out.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So second holiday homeowners, you get full transparency. You can look at the calendar. You can block it out and plan it. If it is your holiday home, guys, you may want to use it for the peak times like the kids' holidays at school or, Christmas and New Year. But what we always say to hosts, you're welcome to use your property, but remember that's going to reduce your income the more you use it. And we don't mind you using it super peak times, but that's the time you're going to make the most amount of money. But you'll work with hosts, get it ready. They can come, it's all nice and clean, and they can nip back to wherever they stay, and you'll get the cleaners to go in and make it perfect for the next guests.
Yep, 100%.
Remember, guys, if you've got a second holiday home, you can go and get that free holiday, and that's all written off against your tax. So it's absolutely beautiful if you plan it right. And Becky and Matt will tell you how to do that. Let's bring some audience questions in. Right, we're coming into December. Some areas really busy for Christmas markets and holiday trips and getaways, and people just getting away for Christmas and New Year. Classic holiday homeowners tend to have that bell curve of bookings, super high in the summer and tails off the start of the year and the end of the year. What kind of trends happen in Devon regards seasonal bookings and things that are happening? What are you guys seeing at this time? Is it quiet?
Yeah, so obviously it is very seasonal, apart from obviously the contractors that come in as well. So obviously in sort of like your June, July, August, when the sea's nice and warm as well, and lots of people are wanting to sort of go that way. We get lots down here. Christmas time, obviously, we get some as well because there's quite a few Christmas markets around and things. And then, yeah, most of the other times it is sort of contractors and things like that, and like university students and things like Becky said earlier on placements.
Mm-hmm. I was chatting to Edith, the Ayrshire property manager. We're on the coast. And she's most of her properties are actually booked out until the end of December for contractors, and then they're just taking a week or two off and then coming back in January. So that was good for us because that's a big chunk of income for all the hosts in that area. But the contractors are there. They leave for a few weeks. We get that high nightly rate for Christmas and New Year, and then the contractors move back. So if you've got units with contractors in, that's massive, guys. One thing I would say to anybody watching and potential hosts, people always say, I want contractors and I want long-term corporate lets. That's a kind of holy grail for a lot of people, especially in cities, but it's very hard to get. You can get holiday home guests and tourist guests and leisure guests by putting it on Airbnb, booking.com, but you need a local presence. You guys go to networking, you are well known in the area. These contractor leads don't just fall into your lap. You guys work hard to get this and build your presence in the area to get leads above and beyond what a host would get themselves.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm always out networking, always out talking to people, and yeah, just exploring our area and finding more for our owners and hosts.
I'm looking through because we've got a networking event here, and the Glasgow property manager was at the BNI this morning covering for someone, and she's actually just got a contractor booking for Glasgow from the BNI this morning, and she was there on Wednesday. So, and she gets a fair bit. So if you're using a management company with a VA in the Philippines, they ain't getting you contractor bookings. They're not going to local network and they're not known. It's a phone number. If you're using a big, massive company, who is looking after your properties, guys? Who do you phone? Who's the person that you phone? Has that person ever been to your property? And there's a good chance that the person is either other side of the country, hasn't ever been to your property, maybe the other side of the world. And do you get consistency? Do you get a personal? Everybody that you manage properties for, guys, gets your email address and a contact number. Is that right?
Yeah. Personal mobile numbers as well.
The mobile numbers, you can come through Pillow HQ if you guys ever happen to get a holiday and take time off and you're not available. It would come to Pillow HQ. We've got the CX customer experience team 24/7 and with all the shifts in for Christmas and New Year. But I think it's rare for the holiday home or service accommodation industry to get the personal mobile number of their property managers. So you guys are on hand within reason to deal with stuff all the time.
Yeah.
I think that's amazing. Let's bring some other stuff in. Right, I'll take a chance. What's the most rewarding part of your job? On the flip side, what aspect do you find the most challenging? So let's start with the positive. And what's the most rewarding part of your job, guys?
I'd probably say seeing like happy guest reviews and getting happy hosts as well. Sort of when they sort of see that you have been taking care of their property like it's your own and everything like that. It's a nice feeling when they sort of talk to you about it afterwards and things. That's probably my high of it, I'd say.
Yeah, I'd say getting good guests, like getting the guest reviews back and that, and knowing that actually what you're doing is the right thing for guests.
And I suppose it's making them happy as well, isn't it? You know, it's they've enjoyed their holiday to actually write a review as well.
And I love the fact that you guys have said guests, because I think it was a mistake, and I'll take responsibility for this. The first few years of Pillow, our focus was on the hosts and getting hosts on, building the business. We mentioned in an earlier call, Becky, the first core value for the first few years was make it happen. It was growing the business. And the last 3 years, it's been stronger together. So on the back of the shirts, it's on the pen. But actually, the hosts are, and not to be disrespectful to hosts, but if we did what hosts wanted all the time, it would lead to bad reviews. By the nature of you guys focusing on servicing the guest, it's actually better for the hosts. So I love that you guys have focused on the guests rather than just, oh, we've got property and we look after our hosts and make them lots of money. But that will be a side effect of you guys getting good reviews, working the algorithms and all the portals to reply to people fast, and getting back to people constantly booking properties, getting those good reviews on Airbnb and booking.com. That will make the host more money than doing what the host wants. So it makes me super happy that you didn't even mention the hosts there. But a lot of management companies pander to the host. I used to look after hosts too well, but we did what they wanted, and they would be coming from a profit margin, a landlord property investor point of view in a lot of instances. But my team's focus is to make the guests happy, because if we can get those good reviews, it's going to filter up and make you a lot more money than, you know, just focusing on profit. The way to maximize your profit, guys, is to service your guests very, very well and get good reviews, get them talking about you, get them coming back, get them referring. So fantastic. Right, okay. Not to put it in a downer, but what's the most challenging part of being a property manager for short-term rentals?
Do you reckon
You can say there's no challenging part, and it's brilliant working at Pillow, and it's a great team. You can say that.
I mean, it is a great team.
Yeah, as I say, it is a great team. I think probably the most challenging would be when you have we've just had a leak at one of the properties, so it's actually trying to manage owner expectations as to how quickly things can be turned around, and getting it back out so that guests can come back into a property. So I would say is sometimes managing expectations of people's wants and how quickly things can happen.
Yep.
As
Definitely.
much as you try to be as transparent with them and sort of, you know, let them know the timescales and things like that, that obviously you're speaking to the builders and things like that and the contractors and letting them know and things. And yeah, I know what you mean.
There's we're actually holding a networking event. I was just speaking at, I'd say, one of our competitors in Glasgow, but we see everybody as partners really. But one of our competitors who also owns a cleaning company, and we were chatting business owner to business owner. Lisa and I'll interview her next week. But like I said, we're all friends with our competitors, but we're talking just how many moving parts. She has a cleaning company as well, and the property management company. And people don't realize, in comparison to normal rentals with a tenant in place, you can get boilers fixed in a few days and tenants will be fine with that. But with serviced accommodation, these guys, if something happens tonight, they're on a Friday night, they're just going to be abandoning date night and their dinners to get things sorted. And you need to move very, very fast, because a couple of hours is an eternity for a guest without heating. So there's so many working parts. I just think these guys, everybody works super, super hard. So many working parts, things can go wrong, out with our control, but the guys are obviously working hard to do stuff there. Right, I'm going to put in a little question here that's came up. Let me just, somebody's asked on my YouTube, can you help with pricing and projections? And I know the person that asked that because they were chatting about Devon earlier before this call, and they don't know the area. They're property investors, they don't want to go in cold. What if somebody's got a property? You can obviously take that over. That's brilliant. But what if somebody comes to you and says, I don't really know anything. Can you guys set it up? Can you do me pricing projections? Can you do me the feasibility to make sure that that property works? What would you do for somebody in that instance? Can you help them?
Yeah, so we can do feasibility studies and things like you say. We've got obviously programs and things like that we can go on to get all of like the pricing within the areas and sort of like understand the occupancy levels and things like that in the area. So yeah, we can definitely help out with that.
Local knowledge, guys, does a massive thing. A lot of people buy deals and properties off sourcers. There's a little bit of a conflict of interest, and a lot of the rent-to-rent deals we've seen, guys, have figures that make absolutely no sense in reality. But what the team will do, they'll go onto the software that we have, and we pay a lot of money for that, and they'll probably pull up the actual statistics and occupancy levels for properties in your area, exact comparables about what they have done historically, not just their estimates or guesstimates or personal opinions, but what's actually happening in the area. So if we picked an area, there'll be hundreds of comparables, and they will personalize that report. They'll put a little bit of knowledge into it, a little bit about the area, personal experience, but the numbers that they will be projecting will be based on actually what's happening in the industry. And guys, I think we use artificial pricing software, Price Labs, as well. So people always ask about future pricing, and one of the challenges would be setting the nightly rates for properties. You guys have got experience of that. So when somebody comes and says, what would I get a night for that? We can put all these comparables, but when we're setting the calendars for, say, 2025, we're doing a mixture of what we feel is right, but also we've got that pricing software, which is the same as airlines and hotels use. So we can get the maximum nightly rates there. You guys use the pricing software?
Yeah.
So how will that look for hosts? Because if I'm a host saying I want a certain amount a night, you guys will go and set that up, use the artificial intelligence pricing software, and it will always set it at the best rates and the best occupancy.
Yeah, so it's just being transparent with people, saying that actually, though, this is what the software's pulled back from data that is on there of things that have happened in the area and events that go on. And yeah, just explaining to them that you might not get exactly the nightly rate you want, but you'll get the area nightly rate, and we'll always work with people to make them understand that.
Yeah, try and manage expectations with it, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, because there's nothing worse than having a nightly rate set really high but having no occupancy in it at all, because the unit's obviously just sat there empty then.
Yeah. It's conversations over the last 2 decades around this. So that what I always like to say is it isn't the owner that decides the nightly rate. It's not me or my property managers that decides the nightly rate to a degree. It's the market. And in lockdown, for example, post-lockdown, there was a staycation boom. The market set the nightly rate because they were inflated by 100%, but actually that's dipping off now. So the market's deciding. It isn't an owner that decides the nightly rate. It's what people are willing to pay. But you guys are always adjusting, looking at prices. There's an element of that being automated, but we set the parameters. But what we would say, because people always say, I'll bring it to you guys if you guarantee to get me this. We can't. What happened in 2024 is no guarantee of what happened in 2025. But what I like to reassure hosts on is that we will get you you're never going to lose money. You're going to get the market rate and some, because we've got property managers locally. We've got a big company with the best software that integrates into the platform, so approved into Airbnb, Booking.com. We've got our Airbnb come to our office here to give us tips and train the team. We've got a Booking.com manager. So we've got all these things that we plug in to make sure that you get the maximum amount. for your property, but we can't guarantee the rates. But what we can guarantee is we've got everything in place to maximise your income here, guys. The local experts, Becky and Matt, we've got the software, the integrations, the account managers with all the major OTAs and platforms, and just plugging all this stuff in and with the market. But the guys will set it up so that you're always getting that maximum nightly rate. And if it's not getting occupied, they'll discuss it and lower it. I don't know how often you guys tweak your rates. There's a little bit of automation that goes on to, if something and there's lots of bookings, it'll put the prices up. If occupancy is low, it'll put them down. But you guys are always examining your rates for hosts as well to make sure it's at the right price.
Yeah. Yeah, always going on checking.
Because if a host says, listen, I need £200 a night, and you're saying, well, 150. Sometimes we need to follow the host's advice, but after it's sitting for and not getting bookings, you guys will be communicating and giving your advice on pricing as well. You're not going to let a property sit empty for months and not get bookings. You're going to be on giving recommendations.
Yeah, 100%. And obviously with that as well, obviously if we don't get bookings, obviously the host doesn't get paid, but nor do we, because obviously we're only sort of percentage based. So
yeah. Again, I said it yesterday 3 or 4 times. I think commission only property management is one of the most noble professions in the world. These guys don't get paid unless they get your property filled. They don't need to go out and visit properties. They don't need to tweak the pricing, but every single time they do that and put that effort in, they make you money and they get money. They don't get a wage, they don't get money until they make our host money. I think it's the most noble profession that there is in the UK at the moment. So let's have a little look. See what questions we've got. Right, let's bring it back to Devon. What advice would you give to someone considering investing in a holiday property in Devon? And again, somebody's asked that, but Devon is a big place. We covered different areas. How is the market for buying in Devon? Lots of competition. Is there lots of properties on the market? And is there stock that is good holiday home stock available to buy?
Yeah, I'd say there probably was.
there is quite a lot of competition out there at the moment. There's quite a lot sort of on the market. Obviously everyone knows how the market's sort of gone lately, where it's sort of gone up and spiked and then sort of come back down slightly as well. But there's some lovely properties on the market. Obviously you just need to sort of like look at the area a little bit if you're not going to reach out to us to start off with, and just sort of see what's around the area and things like that. Don't just go and try and buy somewhere in a completely built up area with building work going out in the back garden and things like that, really, because understandably you won't get good guest reviews and things. So all I would say is just try and reach out to us really and see what's the need at the moment.
And what I will say, that all the team, if you phone up HQ or come across MDLs to say that's not my area, I'll refer you to the local property manager. All the team at Pillow are willing to help you, and I'm sure you'll see Becky and Matt are nice people. What I would say is they can help you a little bit, but if you're wanting full feasibility reports, it's going to take them 4 or 5 hours. There'll be a wee small charge, but we're always happy to give a little bit of help and advice. But the team they're going to give you some value. But guys, what I would say is respect their time. If they're going to be helping you select a property, helping you set it up, there'll be small charges for that because you should value their time. So fantastic. I'm going to bring this question up and I'll bring back to what you said earlier, Matt. What do you look for in an ideal property to manage? While you're thinking about that, I remember my journey back as a 22-year-old working for another company, and the guy made me a director of a business called Coastal Investments, and it was on the coast of Ayrshire. And we went for a walk down the beach, and he was a very experienced businessman, more than twice my age, and I was a young guy just out the armed forces. And I said, why coastal? And I was saying, coastal properties, because there's limited amount of coastal properties. Why are we focusing only in the niche of coastal properties? Because that's a small segment. You have all this property inland, and I think we've, in my naive state, given him advice to somebody like me now. And I thought he'd done the wrong business by calling it Coastal Investments, because there's only a limited amount of land left. And he said, you've answered your own question. And you said this earlier, Matt. Coastal properties, and Tony said to me, from Coastal Investments said, Scott, there's a limited amount of coastal land there, and there's only planning permission. So the properties that are there on the coast are pretty much there. There'll be the odd bit of plot that comes and gets developed. And this was back in 2003. And he says in 10 years, all these plots will be gone and you won't get planning permission to build on coasts indefinitely. But you will in brownfield sites and greenfield sites and inland. There's infinite amounts of, in our generation, they'll never fill inland. But coastal properties will always have the appeal because there's going to be scarcity and limited amount of new ones coming on the market. So the problem that I thought he had was actually the very smart advice for him. And he bought plots of land and sold them and became a millionaire. And then moved away. And I set up the first property management company. But he said coastal properties are a win because there's limited amount of land. You won't get ultimate planning permission for lots of places. So people will pay a premium for that. So I'm not answering the question for you guys, but I wanted to expand on that for anybody looking at coastal areas. There's always an appeal to people going to the coast, especially from cities. So that's me adding to what you said, Matt. But if you're looking for an ideal property to manage, as we come to a close to this live, what would be the best ideal one for you guys? If somebody was saying, I've got 300 grand, what should I invest in? I don't even know if 300 grand gets you a property. It buys half of Glasgow, but do you get something 300 grand in your area?
It probably wouldn't get you a coastal one.
500, half a million.
You're getting closer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I would say a property that has a good view of like the sea, that people can sit out on a balcony or a veranda and just, for both of us, we love just listening to the sea.
Yeah.
There's something a bit therapeutic about it.
Yeah, Instagrammable stuff. I was speaking to somebody in Birmingham a few weeks ago, and I was talking about the coast, and they had said, "Oh, that's brilliant! I've never been to the coast." And I was like, it was like amazing to me that somebody from Birmingham and a lot of people from London said, "I've never been to the coast. I see the pictures, and it looks windy and quite open." But there's people in cities that have never been to the coast, and there's people in London that haven't been to the coast since they were kids. Coastal properties will always have an appeal. So I think that's when it's an easy thing to say. Yeah, just get another, because a coastal property maybe £500,000 more than something in the moors with not a lot there. So it's easy for us to give you that advice, guys. But if you're investing in property, you want something that's always going to go up in value, keep its resale price, and be able to be sold. And if you've got a holiday home and then 5 years later there's a new housing estate next to it, and there's a motorway and there's shopping centres, then they're always going to build around. But on the coast, you can't build into the sea. So coastal properties will always hold their price. Do you think coastal properties must get higher occupancy and higher nightly rates than something inland, you would say?
Yeah, I would say that. Yeah, there is more of a demand for them, isn't there?
Yeah, definitely. If you've got a good sea view, you'll always get more.
I mean, even just off of the sea view as well, even if you're sort of just like within like the little villages that are around sort of coastal and things, short distances to the beach, to like the coastal paths and things like that as well. Yeah.
I think it's easy for me to say coastal, but when we're looking at future-proofing businesses, guys, when we're looking at solid property investment, and it's different in Devon than it would be in some areas, because we'd be talking about rent-to-rents, owners with limited budgets, people convert and buy to lets. But in this area, and the target audience we are going for, quality holiday homes here that fit in traditional areas where the neighbours and the communities actually welcome you in and say, well, we're happy this is a holiday home. We're coming towards the end of 2024 as we record this. Licensing will be coming in. So there will be challenges. You want a property that's going to be future-proof, guys. So we definitely don't want to be buying something and cutting a few quid and cutting a few corners, and then it doesn't get a license, or it's just not going to rent against the other competitors there. So we always look at future-proofing the business. Becky and Matt will go into that in a lot more detail. They're not just there to manage your property, they're there to set it up, and they will take you from absolutely looking for a property, and you can send those guys Rightmove links, and they'll give you analysis and pricing and projections. Also, guys, if you're looking for mortgages, the team are very good. We've got lots of software and I'm not saying our word is taken by all mortgage companies, but guys, if Becky and Matt are doing an in-depth pricing projection or feasibility study for you, and it's taken 5 hours minimum, that report is good enough to get mortgages on in a lot of instances. If you're just pulling statistics and making stuff up, that's not enough for you to get funding for. But when these guys do it in our software and all the projections, we're taking statistics from the actual market. They'll be able to provide something, and they'll charge you a few £100, but it's well worth it, guys, because you'll be able to get funding off the back of that. Also, if you're going into business partnerships with people, if you're getting these feasibility reports, they might get you private funding as well, and the guys will manage it fully hands off for you. I asked you to just jump onto this, Becky, and I know you're busy, and Matt's been out and about and probably wants his lunch and a cup of tea. So I want to finish up there, guys. Anything you wanted to say to anybody, because I think you guys are brilliant. I'm happy to have you on. I'm proud to have you guys as part of the Pillar Partners team. And if we get any leads in, I'm more than happy to send them over to you. I always like those personal relationships. Any final bits of advice or anything I think there was one question that was kind of doubled. Any tips or anything for people getting into the market, and how would people reach out to you if they wanted to work with you? Some final thoughts.
I was going to say you can reach out to us on social media, either contacting us, sort of emails, just southdevon@pillowpartners.co.uk. You can reach out to head office, which obviously you can find on just the internet, Google and things. If you wanted to speak to someone in head office as well to start off with. But yeah,
I was gonna say, always, we're both on Facebook, so just drop us a DM, and happy to have a coffee and a chat if you've got any questions that you would like answered.
And I'll get the team to put all the details under this. But what I would say is, and you've heard that already, that Becky and Matt will be happy to come and meet you at the property. So any work they're doing with you, they'll come to the property and they'll give you their personal advice, and you're getting their personal contact details. And once you're business partners with them, you won't need to contact them in evenings and weekends, because they'll be dealing with guests and dealing with your business. You won't need to contact them, but the guys, you're getting their personal mobiles and email addresses. And I just think in a world of automation and call centres and outsourcing to overseas, it's a very, very rare thing. So guys, thank you very much for your time. If you're looking to invest in that area, if you have a second home or you've got a holiday home, maybe two different things. One, you've got an agent that you think, I'd actually love Becky and Matt to manage. I think they do a better job than what we currently have. Or you're self-managing and you want to step away and you've just never found that company you can trust. I would ask you to put your trust in Becky and Matt. They're local, they're there, they're contactable, they're not going anywhere. So thank you for your time, guys. I'll let you go on. Thank you very much for everyone that's asked questions. If you happen to be watching this on a replay, guys, and you didn't get your questions answered, southdevon@pillowpartners.co.uk, or reach out in the social media channels and I will connect you with Becky and Matt. Thank you, guys.
thanks,
Cheers.
Scott. Take care.
Have a nice afternoon. See you next week. Bye.
See you next week.
See you for the Christmas party. Bye.
Yeah.
Hey.